Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Showdown slate for Sunday Night Football. For Week 6, we have a game between the Patriots and the Chiefs for Sunday Night Football. Going to be a really good game. Going to be a fun Showdown slate. This should be a high-scoring game. Right now, the total is at 60 implied, so expect a lot of points in this game. Should be a fun Showdown slate. A lot of ways we can go. A lot of points should be scored, so a lot of these plays, or a lot of these guys should be good plays and should put up plenty of points to where they could be really good options. So we'll go through the player pool and talk about some of my favorite plays. We'll talk about roster construction, how you can construct your lineup, maybe who you should choose at captain, what makes the most sense to play at captain, and then we'll talk about in a big tournament how we can get a little contrarian, maybe play a guy at captain that's a bit under the radar, maybe a cheaper guy so that way we can fit in the studs that we want. But before we do get started, looking at this Showdown slate, I would appreciate it if you would drop a like on the video. It definitely does mean a lot. You guys have really been enjoying these Showdown slate videos. Been getting a lot of good feedback, a lot of likes, just a lot of views. I do really appreciate it, guys. It means a lot. Also, if this is your first time checking out a video on my channel, if you are new to the channel, then make sure you click that subscribe button. I upload these videos pretty much for every primetime game. Also make weekly videos for the main slate as well. So got a ton of NFL content coming out. When basketball season starts on Tuesday, the 16th, I'll be making NBA videos daily, Monday through Friday at least. Going to be getting out a ton of content, so make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you turn on notifications as well, so that way you won't miss out on any of my new videos. But yeah, guys, let's go ahead and look at the Showdown slate. Talk about the top two options who are quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. For me, on this Showdown slate, if I have to pick one of these guys, it's for sure going to be Mahomes. And I think Mahomes is overall my favorite play on this slate. I'll probably try and fit him in captain in a lot of lineups. He is very expensive. I think he's over 17K if you play him in captain. So we'll have to find some value. I'll talk about some value when we get there. But right now, love Mahomes here. This is a Patriots defense that is not very good. Both of these defenses are not very good. That's why we see a high total here. 57.5 is what it opened at. Right now it's 60. The Patriots are only 3.5 point favorites, so should be a high-scoring game and should be a close game as well. And Mahomes is going to be throwing the ball. Chiefs don't have much of a run game. Kareem Hunt hasn't been that effective this year. Even though he's gotten into the end zone some, he hasn't been very efficient. Mahomes has really been carrying this offense, just been throwing a ton, throwing the ball 40 times a game. When they're trailing, he's throwing the ball a ton. We know this guy just has a ton of upside, can pretty easily get to the 300-yard bonus, can get in the end zone, can throw multiple touchdown passes, can rush as well. Does have some rushing ability. Could get a rushing touchdown. Just has a ton of upside and could easily be the highest-scoring overall player on this Showdown slate. So I love Mahomes at 11.4 is what you're paying for him if you play him in your flex. When we get to roster construction, I'll look at ways that we can play Mahomes in our captain. But looking for cheaper guys, two guys that stand out to me. So I love both tight ends in this game. I love Kelsey and Gronk. Starting off with Kelsey, I'll try and play him in a lot of lineups, especially where I play Mahomes. I'm going to try and pair him with Kelsey because Kelsey has been the guy that Mahomes has looked to. Just getting a lot of targets, nearly 10 targets a game. Only got 8 targets last week against Jacksonville, but still got the 100-yard bonus, 5 catches for 100 yards, so 18 DK points. Kelsey's just been really efficient this year, besides week 1 where he sort of struggled. 32 DraftKings points week 2, then 22, 20, 18. Just been really good, been getting a lot of targets. Obviously one of the best tight ends in the league. Him and Gronk are great plays, especially Gronk. I think Gronk is way underpriced. I know Gronk has not been good this year. He's actually sort of really struggled, hasn't been great for fantasy. But this is a great spot for him to really get things going. It's against a bad Chiefs defense. Gronk's still getting plenty of targets, 6-7 targets a game. Even though Julian Edelman's coming back, or he's already came back, I should say, Gronk's still going to get targets, still going to get looks in the red zone, still has potential to score multiple touchdowns, could possibly be one of the highest scoring players on this slate, and you're getting a really good discount on him at $7,600. If you just look like to begin the year, he was nearly 10, 11K when Gronk was in Showdown slates. Like Sunday Night Football against Detroit, he was 10,400, and this week in a really good matchup against the Chiefs, he's only 7,600. So we're getting a cheap price on Gronk. Guy has a lot of upside. I think he's a really good play, and I like playing both tight ends from this game. And obviously I like pairing Kelsey with Mahomes. So these are kind of 3 guys I'm going to have a ton of exposure to. We'll talk about cheaper options though, because if you play these 3, it's going to be pretty hard to fit in any more studs. So trying to find some value there are cheap, like, wide receiver 3 options we can consider. So the number 3 receiver, obviously, it goes from Tyreek Hill, Watkins, and then Chris Conley we'll talk about. You could consider Kelsey their top receiver, but as a tight end, he's not the actual receiver. He's not in the receiver depth chart. He's a tight end. But the number 3 receiver for the Chiefs is Chris Conley, and he is 2K, so he could be a cheap option we look to. He does get some targets pretty much every week. He's getting about 3 to 5 targets. If he gets into the end zone, could be a really good value. Really, you only need about 9-10 DraftKings points from him. In a high-scoring game, there's a chance he could find the end zone. I do like him as a cheap play at 2K. We do have some concerns with the injuries for the Patriots. Josh Gordon and Chris Hogan are both questionable. Gronk is also questionable, but he's expected to play. But if Chris Hogan and or Josh Gordon miss, if one of them miss, then we could look to Philip Dorsett, who is 2,600. He could be a really cheap option we go to. He's also getting about 3 to 5 targets a game. Saw 7 targets week 4 against Miami. I am worried a bit about his targets, about them decreasing with Julian Edelman coming back. But if Chris Hogan or Gordon miss, then we can definitely look to Philip Dorsett at 2,600. Could be a cheap option. Him and Chris Conley, I think, are good value plays. The defenses I probably don't want to go to. I don't want to play either defenses in this game, even though they're really cheap. I'd rather take a shot with the Chris Conley or with Philip Dorsett with the number 3 receivers. Maybe even Cordell Patterson, but I think I'd play Dorsett over Patterson. The kickers, you can definitely consider, especially in cash, because they have high floors. But a ceiling for a kicker is really only like 14, 15 points. I think that's pretty generous. I'd say a ceiling for a kicker is most likely like 12, 13 points. A really good game for a kicker is probably that amount. With how many touchdowns I feel like they're going to be scored in this game, I don't know if there's going to be a ton of field goals. I'd probably shy away from the kickers. But if you're playing cash games, kickers make sense as cheap salary reliefs. But Chris Hogan, he's 4,200. He could be a value play we look to if he's able to go. I know Hogan hasn't been great really all year. He hasn't been getting a ton of targets. But he's 4,200. We need value if we want to play these studs up top. Hogan's in play for me, especially in tournaments. I do like him as a salary relief play. But I think that's it for sort of overall view of the slate. Now talking about roster construction, if we just want to construct a lineup all around Patrick Mahomes and play him at captain, if we plug him in at captain, that leaves us 65.80 remaining per player. So it's definitely pretty easy. I wouldn't say it's easy, but you can definitely play Mahomes at captain, then play Kelsey, Gronk. That would leave you 55, 66. So you go down to the 2 cheap receivers. If you play Chris Conley at 2K, if you play Dorsett at 2,600, that leaves you 12-1. So you could go to Brady there. You could maybe take out one of these receivers. Maybe play a guy like, let's say, Sonny Michel at 7,200. That leaves you 7,500. You could almost get to Julian Edelman if you did that. So you can see it's not really that hard to play Mahomes, Kelsey, and Gronk, especially if you go with Chris Conley at 2K, who I think can pay off this salary or be a good value play at least. If you want to go a little contrarian, maybe not play Mahomes at captain, go to a guy like Gronk at captain. If Gronk, or say Mahomes gets 30 points in this game and Gronk gets 25, then point per dollar, Gronk's probably the better captain play. So if we played him at 11.4 at captain, then we went Mahomes, Kelsey at 8,600. That leaves us 62. We played Chris Conley at 2K. Then you'd have 8,300 remaining per player. So you could probably play Sonny Michel and Brady. No, you couldn't play Michel and Brady, but you could play Michel and White. I don't know if that's really optimal, playing both running backs from the same team. But both guys have been pretty good. They positively correlated. We just saw last week James White had a good game, 23 DraftKings points. I think Michel had a good game as well. Week 4, White had a good game. Michel had a good game as well. So both of these guys can do well. You could play Michel and White in the same lineup if you wanted to. But I think really hitting this slate, or really, banking a GPP on this slate, is going to come down to which value plays you land on and which value plays do well. If you hit the right value plays, that's kind of what it always comes down to on these showdown slates. But if you play a guy like Chris Conley and he catches 2 touchdowns, that could really just be all you need to maybe ship a GPP. If you play Chris Hogan and he catches 2 touchdowns, or if he's a really good value option, like trying to find the Aldrick Robinson, trying to find the Traquan Smith of this slate, is going to be what you really want to focus on. I think it could be Chris Conley, could be Dorsett, could be Hogan. I'll probably take my money, though, on Chris Conley. I think he's going to be the guy I probably have the most exposure to as a cheap option. Do like him at 2K. But I think that is it for, like, roster construction, at least for tournaments. Now, cash games, the optimal way to build a lineup on this slate, I feel like it's probably going to be to play Mahomes at captain. There are cheaper plays, though, that do make sense, but I'd say you just take the high floor of Mahomes, plug him in, get that 1.5 bonus from Mahomes. Then you try and find the good mid-tier plays, which I think are Kelsey at 8,600. If you wanted to go to James White at 9,200, he seems like a sort of high floor play you could go to. We do need some salary relief, so I like Gronk at 7,600. I think Michelle's a pretty good cash play at 7,200 if he is able to play. So if you went with those two guys, they'll leave you 4,750. If we played a really cheap option like Conley, maybe if we played one of the kickers, that'd probably leave you enough to maybe get up to Julian Edelman. If you plugged in Edelman, that'd leave you 1,700. So you couldn't do that. That kind of sucks. I wish we could get Edelman in. If we played maybe Sammy Watkins, I don't love Watkins as a cash play, but if you did play Watkins, that'd leave you enough for one of the kickers. You could do that in cash. So there's multiple ways that you could go in cash. I'd probably try and build around Mahomes, probably go with Kelsey, Michelle. Those seems like the most optimal cash plays. Gronk seems like a really good play. And it's just figuring out this 2v or these last two guys where you want to go. Try and find a way to get him Edelman if you can. If you can't, you can definitely punt with a guy like Conley at 2K and then maybe fit in or downgrade one of these spots and get up to Edelman, get up to Kareem Hunt, White if you want to do that. That's kind of the way I would probably go in cash games. Tournaments, multiple ways you can go for tournament, like captains in tournaments. Mahomes is obviously a great captain play. Brady's in play for me at captain. I always like to play Tyreek Hill in captain. I don't want to go too crazy. We know the kind of ceiling that Tyreek Hill has. James White has a high ceiling. He could be a captain play. Same with Kelsey. I probably wouldn't play Kareem Hunt in captain. Don't think I'd play Edelman in captain either. Gronk at 11.4 and Michelle at 10.8 definitely make sense for captain plays. I think that's probably the cheapest I'd go at captain. I don't think I'm going to be playing guys like Watson, Hogan, Chris Conley in captain. It's probably going to end at Michelle. He'd probably be the cheapest guy I'd consider. But yeah, guys, I think that's it for the Showdown slate. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. Hopefully you got plenty of information out of this video. Makes you more prepared. If you do have any questions about this Showdown slate, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at the DFS_GOAT. My DMs are open on Twitter, so you can always contact me if you do have questions. Also, be sure you drop a like on the video. Would really appreciate it. Make sure you do subscribe. And if you missed my Week 6 video for the main slate, Week 6 main slate, I did upload that on Tuesday. It should be in my recent videos. You can just check that out. I would appreciate it. Pretty much go over the Week 6 slate, talk about some of my favorite plays at each position. But yeah, guys, I think that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it, and good luck on this Sunday Night Football Showdown slate. Peace.